and then ALS be affected in this condition. Therefore, you have.
Happy Friday. Just finished my morning class. Went to wrap up, which I always think is super helpful in terms of prepping for an exam. So luckily for this professor, he realized that neuro was overwhelming most of us, and so he made his wrap up very specific details, which we would need to know for the test, which is obviously a great thing because for the test we know what we need to memorize, but in the long run it's also not the greatest thing. I'm not saying I'm ungrateful, but just because we do need to memorize all the other stuff that we failed to memorize for this exam, for rotations in the future, in the next upcoming 1 to 2 years, I would need to know those things anyways. But I'm not the person with the mental capacity to memorize everything right now. So I will focus on the exam because I need to do well on this exam. So we just finished class around like 10:30. My next class is at 11:15. I'm just going to review the wrap up and take notes on the wrap up because rote, like hand movements and rote memorization that way, like helps me a lot in terms of just memorizing facts. It's 3 and I just finished my research meeting that was only supposed to be 10 to 15 minutes for an update, but it became 3 hours. So that's, and I'm just, my brain is mentally exhausted, and this just throws a wrench into my studying schedule, which is never fun. And I'm starving. I'm so hungry. Brain break. I am finally ready to study again at 4:40. Finally had lunch at like 4 o'clock, had another meeting, crossed off the list, and now I have nothing else to do except turn in 2 fivers and study. And so I've been drinking this drink. I think I would have inserted a clip of me unpacking it. They filmed that earlier this week, but I'm drinking my Magic Mind because I found I really like it for an afternoon pick-me-up, which is around the same time where I usually take my coffees anyways. I think they recommend for you to drink it like with your coffee or in replacement like regular coffee, or like for me, like sometimes coffee, sometimes tea. I think I might have some extra coffee today just because I need that extra energy. But it actually does make me feel very alive, the same way that matcha does. So one of the key ingredients in here is matcha, which gives you basically like sustained energy and has like all these amazing benefits for your health without making you crash like coffee. And so I usually do drink matcha to begin with in the afternoon when I already had a little bit of coffee, and so I love that this already has matcha in it, and so it gives me the same type of energy. But fun fact is that matcha actually makes my heart go crazy. Like it gives me a lot of heart palpitations. I don't know if it's because I put too much matcha into my drinks, or not. If you're saying 1 teaspoon, I do put 1 teaspoon, but maybe I'm just like really sensitive to matcha because like I don't get that same feeling of like over caffeination like with any other drink. But it just gives me like the same energy without the heart palpitations, which is amazing. But I need energy to continue or to start studying. I started my notes. I'll finish my notes and I'll update you when I finish my notes. So of course I'm already procrastinating. It's like 5 minutes later. But I was like, being a big believer in evidence-based medicine and just having evidence to support everything I say about stuff like this, I looked it up, and L-theanine, which is one of the major ingredients from the matcha, I believe, but it's regardless, L-theanine is one of the main ingredients in this drink, and paired with caffeine, it has been shown to help you focus and increase your attention span. And caffeine doesn't actually give you energy, but blocks like the tiredness receptors in your brain, which is why a lot of us need to have it in the morning when those receptors are like recepting, but then the receptors eventually obviously get unblocked, which is why we feel like a midday crash from coffee, or like we just feel like the caffeine crash a couple hours later, because those receptors are able to bind to more antigens or antibodies, and that's when you experience a caffeine crash. And so L-theanine actually binds the caffeine molecules and prevents the full blocking receptors from and also like reducing or dissolving the caffeine crash and like the jitters you feel. So that makes sense why I don't like, because even like matcha like makes me like super like haywired, and then like it just like crash around dinner, which is like good timing for me. So like I kind of figured out a way to when I should best take my coffee intake. But I like that with this, like I haven't felt it. I've been drinking it for a couple days now, like I think like 4-ish days now, since Monday, and it's Friday. And I haven't felt that. Like I actually feel pretty alive. The matcha given in this with like the adaptogens and nootropics and also the honey, like combined, just make it feel better. Yeah. And so thank you so much to Magic Mind for sponsoring today's video. They did also give me a 20% coupon for you guys. This is going to be Julia20. I'll leave it on the screen, also in the description box for you guys to use if you guys want to check it out. And it's also 100% money back guaranteed if you don't like your order, which is great. And I just want to say I don't get any commission or any money from it or from clicking the link or anything. And I'm so excited that I get to share this little productivity drink with you guys. Let me finish my notes. So I use GoodNotes, and this is what it looks like. So this is my notes for upper motor neuron, lower motor neuron lesions, and then all the different classifications for both, like 2 columns. It's just something that I'm used to. And then I separate it out by type of disease, and I color code everything, and I've been color coding my entire life. So like to me, these are like very intrinsic colors that I know. Yeah, and I'm gonna print these out probably to review them. And just like that, it is 7:30. It took me a little longer than I expected, but that's how studying always goes. I'm not tired for some reason. Like I actually don't feel tired or exhausted, which is great, which means I have energy to study. And I'm going to take a break from studying now and do 2 5ers because I need to. They're doing like a couple hours, and just to like break up like the monotony of like different tasks I need to do, because if I do the same thing for too long, I get really bored and I just zone out. But like if I vary the things that I do, I find more motivation to do it.
Reactive gliosis. If you test the CSF of a patient with multiple sclerosis by doing a spinal tap, you will.
It's officially 11 p.m. and I'm just doing Anki, and I think I'm only gonna run through my neuro because I just don't have energy to run through the other subjects. I do 2 decks, which I can talk more about if you guys are interested in, but I ran through one of my other deck, and I'm just doing Zanki neuro now for the boards videos I just watched, and I think I'm just going to do that, review my notes, just read them over, try to memorize it, and go to sleep, because sleep is important, guys, even when it's exam weekend. And before I sleep, I do want to say that the way I take notes is that I took notes on top of my actual set of notes, where like it has like all our home learning, all our class notes, basically like all the information. Like I take notes on my notes. Like these are just like the main points I want to take away and memorize. And I try to have the set of notes done before the weekend starts. So I saw like 2 days to memorize everything that I have. Good night, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. It is 2:18. So in the morning I woke up around, I had my alarm for 8:30, just so I could get a good chunk of work in this morning. I watched all the lectures that I missed from last week. I did some questions. So I'm basically splitting up my study from like day 1 versus day 2. So yesterday, from week 1 versus week 2. And so yesterday I was mostly concentrated on reviewing all the week 2 materials, which is the materials we learned this past week, because that's all in my head. So I want to finish reviewing and wrap that up. And so this morning I was reviewing all the information from last week, from week 1, and so like all the neurodegenerative diseases and stuff like that. And that splitting it up like that just helps keep me organized on like what am I learning for that day. And so today is mostly a week 1 kind of thing, and then tomorrow I'm just combine them both, do practice questions. Yeah, today I rewatched lectures from this week and last week. I reviewed and wrote down some more notes from my week 1 materials, and then I took a lunch break. Lunch was really good. Key tip to exam weekends is to just have like food marinating in the fridge, or like meat marinating where you can just throw it in the pan, cook it, not think about it, and just eat. So that this way you have like good nutritious food. I didn't really have to think about what you need to eat and whatever, and so that's what I did. And now I'm just gonna go back to studying. Because I took like a brain break from the material, see if I digested it by doing all the Anki related to the materials that I was reviewing this morning. So I'm just gonna catch up on my neuro Anki now to see if I retained any of that information. I do use Anki. I don't think it's as beneficial for me, but it has helped me remember some random facts. It doesn't help with trying to understand what's happening, but I don't know, I think it is helpful, especially like right before exam, so like all the information is in your head. I don't really know really about like how good it is long term for me personally and how I learn, but we're not at the long term stage yet, so. Got ready to go to dinner for a friend's birthday, and I'm just reviewing notes just in case I don't get a chance to later tonight, because I don't know how tonight's gonna go, but I'm just trying to commit everything in my notes to memory. I did a couple of practice questions, and I basically supplement my notes with whatever I get wrong on the practice questions, and also like I'm writing like things that I just cannot remember onto this piece of paper, which I will take with me into the exam, and this will be the last thing I look at right before the exam. Like everything I can't remember, I just write it down on a piece of paper, so I just have it easy in my pocket the morning of the exam. Happy Sunday afternoon. It is 2:53. I have my alarm set at 9. I start studying again at 9:30. So the last thing I do before I go to sleep is to look at notes I want to memorize, and the first thing I do when I wake up is to re-look at the notes I want to memorize. Like right when I wake up, I run through the list of things that I was trying to memorize in my head to see if I actually successfully memorized those things. The first thing I do after I open my eyes is to re-look at all the notes, because I feel like that's when I'm most fresh, is right when I wake up, and so that's when like I absorb all the information. I don't know if there's actually scientific backing to that claim. So I did that. I reviewed a lot of PowerPoints from last week this morning, and I took a lunch break from 1:30ish till now, and then now I'm just going to go in and do all my Anki to see if I remember all the stuff that I have memorized over the past 2 to 3 days. I'm always like on the lag of Anki on Mondays, but that's okay. At 7:40, I finished my Anki for neuro. I ran through a lot of my notes again just to make sure I could memorize all the points. I'm just running through the notes of random points of the day just to see if I remember it. I printed out my notes because I like physical paper, and then so I have 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then 5. So like these 5 pages are like my holy grail notes that I need for this exam. I actually kind of feel prepared. I don't want to jinx myself, so I'm not gonna say it, but I feel like I'm at a good place in terms of my studying and how much I know. I've been doing practice questions. Or I did practice questions earlier this morning, just all the questions that the professor came out with throughout the past 2 weeks, and I've been getting them right, so I'm pretty good about that. But you know, there's always stuff that like I need to remember, like drugs and me just don't get along. If any of you out there are in medicine, whatever, and have any tips or tricks for remembering drugs, please help this girl out, because I am so bad at remembering drugs and medications. Like, I don't want to be a surgeon, so drugs are gonna be the rest of my life, so I really need help with this. So if anyone has any tips or tricks for that, please let me know. Happy Monday. It is Monday afternoon. So I took my test this morning. Our exams are at 8 a.m. and so I wake up on exam days at 6 a.m. so I can study, 6 to 6:30 a.m. so that I can study for at least an hour before we head out the door. This way I just have all the information fresh in my head. Very short-term memory. Like, I realize my studying is very like short-term memory based, but at least I do Anki, which is supposed to help with long-term. But I was able to run through all my neural Anki cards this morning, which is really helpful because it helps me like catch all like the little things I may not remember anymore. And I just reviewed my cheat sheets this morning just so I can imprint those and absorb those into my head. I'm not sure if I updated you guys yesterday, but yesterday I just did all my neural Anki, like I said, and then I reviewed all the important, or what I think is an important PowerPoint. Because obviously the changes depending on what the PowerPoint structure is like from professor to professor. But I reviewed all my notes. I also did practice questions from ScholarX, which is a research that school gives to us for free. And I don't know if I necessarily recommend, like, I like doing practice questions, but a lot of times the practice questions don't actually align with what we're learning in class. Just because like professors and like online step one, like everyone kind of emphasizes different things. So like I don't do like a lot of practice questions. I think I only did, I want to approximate maybe around 60 to 70 practice questions, which sounds like a lot, but it's honestly not that much because technically we only get like 1 or 2 minutes per question, and that's how long each question should take you theoretically. So it was actually not that many practice questions, and so that's what I did. Yeah, I don't really have like, I feel like my studying technique isn't the best, so like I said before, if anyone ever has any recommendations, any tips, suggestions, please help me out. I would love to study more efficiently rather than just like creating a note sheet, trying to implant all of that into my head, because I'm a very visual person, so I need to see the same thing like repetitively, like the exact same thing, so I can memorize the exact, like either paper or slide or whatever. Like, I have a picture of that in my head, and that's how I memorize things, not like fact for fact. Like, I literally see the picture. I literally see like my notes or like the slide or whatever it is in my head. So if anyone has any tips or tricks for visual learners like me, please let me know. Anyways, I just also want to touch upon Magic Mind, which is the drink that I was trying out for this past week to see if it actually does like improve my productivity, my focus, my concentration, and I'm really surprised that it has. Like, I think I mentioned earlier, like before, that I was pretty skeptical about it because like I'm always skeptical about like these new drinks, like these new amazing things that come out. Because I think I saw that it had like nootropics. I didn't know what that was. It had like ashwagandha. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I also didn't know what that was. At least like not really. So I do recommend Magic Mind for anyone with a busy lifestyle, first of all, because it is in shot form. It's so easy to just like put in your bag. So like a busy lifestyle, or like someone who really feels like their afternoon slump, like me, or even like someone who's like a daily coffee drinker and like the coffee is just like putting you on edge and you want to find an alternative, etc. Like, I do think like this is a good alternative if you do have like daily caffeine. They were kind enough to like give me a discount code. I'll leave it on the screen, also in the description box, and you'll get 20% off your order for a limited time. I'm not sure how long the promotion runs, but I'll leave everything in the description box. Also, I'll leave like a list of like the ingredients and whatever, just so you guys know and whatever. Now I need to catch up on all of the schoolwork, so and also need to catch up on research. And so I'll go do that. Thank you guys so much for watching my video and supporting me, especially like for the people who have been here for a while. Thank you guys so much. It means a lot to me. If you guys have any questions or anything, please just like hit me up, like on Instagram, on here, like whatever, in the comments. Like, I'm here for you guys to answer any of your questions you have about med school, life, anything. Like, I know it's like application season and past studying season, etc. So if you guys have any questions or have any video ideas on like any content you want to see, please let me know. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.